said though, in terms of like things coming back and um, animation in general, one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you, outside of just loving a lot of your work, was that I'm a big animation fan. I wanted to get into animation myself, and so I was like, this would be an awesome, interview to have because I have so
Yeah.
many questions about this field. But before we get into that, though, I wanted to ask you, considering that your family, you come from a family of artists, I believe,
Yep.
and with your father and mother being artists, but I think your mom was a musician,
Yeah, my
and
mom was not a professional musician,
okay,
a fiesta musician. So
okay,
when we go to family parties or any events, she was the lady who'd be like, "Does anybody want me to take out my guitar?" And no one would say anything, and she would immediately like go and start playing. So she,
shoot, that's professional. That's
yeah,
professional.
yeah, it's very, very singing, playing, and then my dad was an architect, very
Ah,
Nice.
serious art form, right? And so
yeah.
imagine telling him like, "Dad, I want to make cartoons." It was like
Well, that
the
was that was what I was
worst.
gonna ask. Like, what made you choose? Because you would assume that you would follow in your parents' footsteps. What made you, choose like illustration and animation?
Well, the big thing that happened to me was I must have been 13 at this big
Mhm.
family dinner, and Mexico's crazy this way, where you're asked in front of everybody, the adults, "What are you gonna do with your life?" It's like a movie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember saying, just saying, "Papa, I want to be a writer, a painter, and a movie director." Those are the three things I listed at 13.
Dang.
Nice.
And saying you wanted to do that, especially in Mexico, that was like saying I want to be Batman and the Pope. Like that's how unrealistic those things were. So everybody laughed, including my dad. And there was a family friend there who said, "Listen to the stupid boy. He's onto something." That's
I'm
animation.
dead. I'm
You
dead.
get you get to make paintings move, you get to tell stories, and you get to make little movies. So my dad
Nice.
at 13 said, "All right, Jorge, find the hardest school in the world to study this. And if you can get in, then maybe I'll let you study that." So he knew I had this
Mm.
chip in me about rebellion and being told you can't do something. And that's kind of always been my superpower. When people say you can't do it, it kind of just fuels me. And
And
that
is
was it.
that
That's how I got started. I just, again, I was 13, so it's late 80s. There's no internet. So I was just researching
Right.
and
mm,
researching. Found out about the school in Los Angeles called Cal Arts that Walt Disney founded. Basically, at that time, all the movie directors for Disney and Pixar and all the TV shows, most of the creators came from that school. And, usually there were white guys. So I was
Yeah.
like, all right, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it. And that was it. It was me. I made it a mission. I'm going to get into that school. And I got in as a high school junior. I got in a year early.
nice,
Wow.
And it
nice.
was just pure, this is a crazy story. But basically, what happened to me was I was told you're going to get rejected 3 or 4 years in a row to get
Mm,
in. It's,
Hmm.
one out of 350 kids get in. So every year you get rejected, you get better. And as you
mhm.
get better, it's closer. So try to get rejected as soon as possible. So I was like, all right, I'll hack the system. I'll apply as a high school junior and get rejected 1 year early. And I call the school because you call the schools to say, how do we get in? And they're
Yeah.
like, this is the two things they told me. You need figure drawing and you need animation style drawing. No idea what that is.
Right.
So
Yeah.
figured out figure drawing is drawing models. I lived in Tijuana at the time in the border. Only models were exotic dancers. So I would go and basically draw exotic dancers. So a very happy 17-year-old kid. Uh, I would come home with these drawings, and my father would be like, "What is wrong with these women?" I'm like, "Father, I draw life. This is what I've seen." And
I'm
then
dead.
at the same time, I was like, "Well, what do the Americans want to see? I'm going to draw Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny and Bart Simpson, literally anything I could think of that the Americans wanted to see."
Mm,
Yeah.
And then I was at the time painting Day of the Dead and Mexican
Yeah.
wrestling and all the stuff that I genuinely love. But in my head, that wasn't animation. So I go to the school to get reviewed. again, high school junior, I'm 17. This guy named Jules Engel ran the experimental animation program. Hungarian Holocaust survivor, worked at Disney.
Wow.
Like, looked like Chuck Jones, like this cartoonish,
Nice.
old school, but mean. Like, again,
Yeah.
this is early 90s. Teachers said some stuff that would get them canceled today. And they just said it back then.
Yeah.
So he looks at my drawings and he picks up the exotic dancer drawing and he's like, "Oh, what is wrong with these women?" And I'm like, again, this is how I learned to draw. And he puts all that aside and looks at my animation drawings and he goes, "This is crap." And he goes drawing by drawing and he goes, "This is terrible." And he, again, tattoos that branded on my soul. He goes, "A copy machine could have done this. You say nothing. You have no voice. You are not an artist." And I'm 17, right? And I've been up until this point in my life, I'm the kid who everybody said, "Oh, you're gonna do great. You're a great artist." And for the first time, a professional artist just cuts me down to size. And he goes, again, Hungarian English was the second language. He talked like Yoda. He goes, "An artist you are not." And he closes my portfolio and he goes, "Go look and do something else with your life. Not for you. This, not for you." I'm devastated, right? Like my whole future's closed. I'm in my head. I'm like, what am I going to tell my dad? I failed.
Right.
Where? Like what? I walked away not knowing what to do with my life. And I forgot my painting portfolio on the table. So Jules opens his portfolio and sees this crazy painting of a lady holding a half coyote kid. And he goes, "Hey, sad boy, come back."
Sad boy. Oh my God.
And I go and he goes, what the hell is this? I'm like, "Oh, this is a painting about the border and it's a Mexican lady who had an affair with a coyote. So it's about, multiculturalism. And it's Mexico and the US." And he starts laughing and he goes, "Next." And every painting he goes, "What's the story with this one?" And I had written stories for every painting.
Yeah.
And at the end he has this giant grin and he goes, "Why did you do these?" And I said, I don't know. And he goes, "That's the perfect answer. This is your voice. Why did you do those other crappy drawings?" Because I thought that's what you guys wanted to see. And he goes, "You are stupid." "I'm going to let you into the school if you swear to me you will not draw what others want you to do. You will draw what's inside. This is your voice." And that was it. It was like an origin story for a superhero. Like it took a foreigner in the US to basically say it's okay to make things about where you're from. That's what it took.
That's
and that
awesome.
was it. It changed my life. So I got in at 17. My parents just about had a heart attack. I had the worst high school senior year of all time, right? Because I'm like, I got into my dream school, and they don't need grades. It's all based on talent. So terrible, terrible. Thankfully, I met the love of my life that summer, and I was off to the races. And I ended up going to that school for 6 years. I did my bachelor's and my master's. CalArts and the Mexican government paid for my whole. I got a full ride, and if it was up to me, I'd still be there. That's how much fun I had.
Oh my God.
And everybody in school told me, "You keep making this Mexican stuff, you're not gonna find work because there's no Mexican stuff out there." And all I heard was, "Wow, you're not gonna have competition because no one's doing this stuff."
Right.
That is the best way to look at anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like the world's gonna end tomorrow. Oh, cool. We have 24 hours to have fun. Like I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I'm the guy who finds every positive silver lining. Oh, you're gonna go to jail. Cool. Free food and no rent. Like
3 hats and a cat.
Yeah. Free gym.
Basketball every day.
Yeah.
People want to play.
What? Would it make so many new friends?
Oh my
God.
So wait,
my God.
Do you think the pushback that you got from your parents, do you think that was because of them looking at how difficult that field is, or was it more so that a challenge? Like, if you can do this, and I'm kind of giving you a hard time, then I think you can make it. You know.
It's interesting. I've talked with my dad about this, and the way he described it, which I think a lot of minorities and a lot of you know immigrants, first generation, if you don't see examples of the thing that you want to do done by people that look like you, don't think that's attainable. And if your parents,
Yeah.
especially for a lot of first generation immigrants, they go, I
Yeah.
left my country and we almost died, or like you know crazy stories of how you came to the US, and you go, I'm here so that you can have an opportunity, and you're going to go into a field that's so uncertain.
Yeah.
Like, that
I
sacrifice we
had
made
that.
for you is so that you could be a doctor or a lawyer,
That's
not
it.
so that you can make cartoons or be an actor or be a writer,
Right.
because no one that looks like us does that. This is insane. Like, what are you doing? So I always say the first wall you got to climb over for women and minorities and anybody who's an immigrant is at home,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? And
Fact.
two things happen. Either you have really supportive parents who, and those are very rare, and those
Yeah.
who have those are very lucky, or you have parents who go, you can't do it, and somehow there's a chip in you that goes, I'm gonna
Yeah.
prove them wrong, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna use that for you. And then the third is, no, my parents are right. I'll do it. And usually
Yeah.
those people are not very happy.
Oh, let me
But I
go
think
be that
that
doctor.
starts at home, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
my dad figured out pretty early, oh, Jorge loves rebellion. I'm not gonna let him rebel against me. I'm gonna be part of his rebellion. I'm gonna be on
Mm.
his side. So he did that. So for example, after we did our cartoon El Tigre on Nickelodeon, he was like, "That was pretty good, but I bet you can't do a movie."
You knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's the
awesome.
best kind of support, man. That's awesome. I love hearing that. It's so heartwarming.
Oh, thank you. But I mean, I'm sure you guys have crazy stories about your lives, right?
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah.
sad.
Well,
Oh no!
oh man. Well, I mean, it's not.
I like that you're laughing too.
Never said on this how long we've been doing this. I probably said the craziest things. I don't even
Yeah.
remember them. And if you would go back and you watch our stuff, I have probably dogged out my whole family in one-liners, and I don't.
Terrible. Terrible.
Normal but hilarious.
Yes. Yes. I not the same. I think with my parents, because I know my mom a while back years ago wanted to be go into interior decoration, and going into the arts and stuff. And so when I went into the arts, she warned me. So it wasn't so much that she didn't want me to do it. She was just like, okay, this is difficult. It's
Right.
very competitive. Not everybody gets, so like, have a backup plan. That was her thing. Make sure you have a backup plan. Her and my dad. And so I was able to go to I went to VCU, and this isn't about me, whatever. But I'm just saying, it was similar in the idea that, like, it wasn't the easiest thing right away. It was more so that
Right.
you had to kind of had to make sure you're serious
Yeah.
about it, because it's going to be difficult. But then also just the realization that there aren't many like you that are doing it,
Right.
and it's going to be a lot of schooling, a lot of money, a lot of working, a lot of everything.
Yeah.
And so just to let you know, but it wasn't to the point of like, don't do it, or you can't do it. It's just kind of a warning type of thing. And I think that we kind of get that as minorities. We get that with just about everything in life. I think
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we
in
do.
the
Yeah.
US, where it's like, hey, you gotta work harder than everybody else, et cetera, et cetera. And so it was interesting hearing that about with your parents, because they were already kind of in the arts. So I
Yeah.
just imagine, like, oh, like, yeah, do it, like, go ahead, like, you know what I mean. And for them to have kind of some pushback, it makes sense when you think about it,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because
I
it's
mean,
not guaranteed.
the way my dad described it to me, he said, being an artist is like being a doctor or being a lawyer. Like, you still have to go to school. You still are competing
Yeah.
with lots of people. and you have to be just as serious and just as disciplined. And that's the only way you're going to succeed. There's no one gets lucky and things happen
Right.
to them. It's basically preparation, tons of work. And I think the thing that he really instilled in me was, and I didn't find out I was autistic until I was 40, but a thing that he kind of figured out, and I think he was autistic too, was that
Probably,
I was
yeah.
really, I could just work. Like I'm a machine, and when it comes to once I know what I'm doing, I just do it. And
Yeah.
so he kept saying to me, persistence is more important than talent. Right? The more you do, he's like, the secret to the arts is the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
And if you fall in love with the process and not the result, you're going to be happy the rest of your life. If you only put value in the result, you're giving away that power, right? Because someone else would decide that result. But no one can decide the process but you. So he kind of hacked my brain a lot with that stuff.
Yeah.
And he did a thing that, again, as he got older, I would ask him, go like, Dad, how did you figure that stuff out? And he'd go, you were my little experiment. And like every time you did stuff, I was like, all right, well, that worked. All right, that didn't work. And I think that, honestly, that's parenting, right?
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
idea that parents are perfect and they know everything. No. Like now that I'm a parent, I'm like, oh no. Parents don't know. They didn't know.
No, they didn't know. They didn't.
There's no magic thing that when you have a kid, all of a sudden wisdom and an illumination happen in your brain and you're like, I'm now a great parent.
No.
No, not at all. Goodness.
In fact, it probably goes out more.
Yeah.
It leaves.
And I feel like, again, this is my view, but I think parenting reveals self. Like, if you want to find out who a person is, watch how they become a parent.
Yeah.